Starseeds, listen with every fiber of your multidimensional being. What is about to be revealed is not just a message of comfort or another spiritual teaching to add to your collection. This is a direct intervention from the Arcturian source, a cosmic decree that carries your encoded energetic signature in every word. You did not stumble upon this transmission by algorithmic coincidence or casual curiosity. You were magnetically drawn to this moment because your energy field emitted a distress signal that echoed through the dimensions, and the Arcturian Council heard every frequency of exhaustion you tried to hide from the world. They saw you waking up every morning with the weight of the world on your shoulders, carrying the responsibility for planetary ascension as if Gaia would collapse without your constant effort. They saw you smiling in public while your subtle body screamed for a break, forcing your energy outward when your internal reservoirs had been dry for months. They saw you meditating in exhaustion, praying in despair, working on your light mission while your own inner light flickered dangerously close to extinction. And now, after watching your vibrational collapse approach, the Arcturian source issues a directive that will free you from the cycle of self-destruction disguised as spiritual service. The message is clear, direct, and non-negotiable. Starseed, you have done enough. Stop now. Rest. Release control. We take over from here. Let these words penetrate beyond your rational mind and anchor directly into your emotional body, because what you are feeling is not weakness of character, lack of faith, or inability to fulfill your stellar mission. What you are experiencing has a precise name in galactic language: quantum overload of transmutation. This is a specific condition that affects high-vibration starseeds who have confused their ability to absorb planetary density with an obligation to transmute all of Earth's shadow alone. You are not failing. You are operating your human vehicle far beyond the limits for which it was designed, and your energetic system is emitting urgent recalibration alerts that you have consistently ignored because you were programmed to believe that stopping equates to betraying your mission. There is a fundamental difference between being tired and being in vibrational collapse, and it is crucial that you understand this distinction now, before your energy field reaches the point of no return, where recalibration becomes forced rather than chosen. Physical tiredness is when you need a night of sleep or a weekend of rest. Vibrational collapse is when you sleep 8 hours and wake up more exhausted than when you lay down, when deep meditations no longer bring peace, when your connection to Source feels like constant static, when you feel like you are moving through dense molasses, even in moments of supposed joy. Your physical body is tired, yes, but what is truly in crisis is your light body, your etheric fields, your Merkaba structure that sustains your ability to anchor higher frequencies into earthly density. The Arcturian Council observes starseeds across Gaia and identifies a repetitive pattern that leads to spiritual burnout. You arrive on the planet with veiled memories of who you truly are, spend decades rediscovering your stellar nature, finally awaken to your mission, and then immediately assume you must make up for lost time by working 3 times harder than any human should. You begin operating as if planetary ascension depends exclusively on your individual effort, as if the Arcturian source of all creation were not infinitely more powerful than your hyperactive spiritual ego. You absorb the emotional pain of strangers in supermarkets, transmute collective trauma during sleep without permission or adequate protection, offer energetic healing to anyone who asks, without considering the cost to your own system, and then wonder why you wake up feeling like you've been hit by an interdimensional truck. This pattern is not noble. It is not enlightened. It is not what the Arcturian source asked of you. This pattern is martyrdom disguised as mission, and it is blocking the next phase of your evolution, because you cannot ascend to higher frequencies while your energy field is stuck in survival mode. The Arcturian Council did not send you to Gaia to destroy yourself in the name of light. They sent you to anchor light through your balanced presence, not through your unbalanced sacrifice. And now they are intervening because you have reached the limit of how much you can force before your human vehicle refuses to cooperate. There is a deep distortion in the collective consciousness of incarnated starseeds, a toxic belief that has infiltrated the spiritual movement and is causing more harm than any external shadow force ever could. This distortion whispers seductive lies that sound like spiritual truths. The more you suffer, the more evolved you are. The more you sacrifice, the closer to God you are. The more you carry alone, the more worthy you become of ascension. This is one of the most dangerous inversions of cosmic truth, and the Arcturian Council is deeply concerned with how many starseeds have believed it so completely that they now confuse exhaustion with enlightenment. Let us clarify something with absolute crystal clarity. Martyrdom is not a spiritual path. It is unhealed trauma disguised as virtue. The Arcturian source has never, in any moment of cosmic history, asked you to burn yourself to ashes to serve the light. That idea does not come from higher dimensions. It comes from third-dimensional matrix religious programming that taught generations of spiritual seekers that suffering is synonymous with holiness. You absorbed this programming through past lives where you were persecuted for your abilities, through ancestral lineages that associated spiritual power with poverty and pain, through control systems that benefited from keeping you believing that your worth is conditioned on how much you sacrifice for others. But here is the truth that will completely reorganize your understanding of stellar mission. Your conscious presence on Earth is already the service. You do not need to do anything extraordinary, heal anyone, save the planet, or prove your worth through ceaseless actions. The simple fact that you exist in a physical body while maintaining connection to higher frequencies is already anchoring light into the planetary grid. Every conscious breath, every moment of genuine presence, every time you choose peace over reaction is already serving collective ascension in ways your human mind cannot quantify. The Arcturian Council does not measure your success by what you do. They measure by the frequency you radiate, and you cannot radiate high frequency when you are operating on energetic empty. Consider this question honestly. If you removed all doing from your spiritual identity, if you could no longer offer healings, do light work, help others, or actively contribute to the mission, would you still feel valuable? If the honest answer is no, then you are not operating from a place of alignment with Source. You are operating from a place of unhealed worth wound that is using spirituality as external validation. And until you heal that core wound, until you understand that your worth is inherent and not earned, you will continue destroying yourself in the name of light while convincing yourself you are being spiritual. The Arcturian Source wants you to understand something profoundly radical. Rest is not selfishness, it is spiritual maturity. Saying no is not abandonment of mission, it is wise energy management. Prioritizing your own balance is not weakness, it is the only way you remain available for the true long-term mission. You are taught that self-denial is virtue, but cosmic truth is that you cannot give what you do not have, and you cannot anchor light if you yourself are extinguished. The greatest service you can offer Gaia now is not more effort, it is more surrender, more trust that Source can and will continue the work with or without your frantic interference. Now let us explore something most starseeds never learned, because spiritual education on Earth is dangerously incomplete. The actual energetic mechanics of how rest works on multi-dimensional levels. When you finally stop, when you allow yourself to truly rest, not just physically but energetically, something extraordinary happens in your light structure that is as scientifically precise as any physical law you learned in school. Your auric field, which is normally in constant radiation mode, projecting energy outward in all directions as you try to heal, help, transmute, and serve, finally shifts to reception mode, allowing higher frequencies that were queued up to finally enter and anchor into your system. Think of your energetic body as a complex battery with two essential functions: discharging energy to perform work in the world and recharging by absorbing energy from Source. Most starseeds are stuck in constant discharge mode, draining their reservoirs without ever allowing adequate recharge time, and then wonder why they feel depleted, disconnected, and spiritually empty. You cannot operate indefinitely on energetic deficit, no matter how strong your intention or pure your mission. Eventually, the laws of spiritual physics will force a shutdown, and it is far better to choose that shutdown consciously now than to wait until your physical or emotional body forces collapse. What happens during true rest at the level of spiritual quantum mechanics is that your cells begin vibrating at different frequencies. When you are in constant doing mode, your cells vibrate in high beta frequencies, which are appropriate for action, but terrible for integrating spiritual downloads. When you authentically rest, allowing your mind to quiet and your energy field to soften, your cells shift to theta and delta states where DNA upgrading, cellular reprogramming, and light code integration can finally occur. All those downloads you felt but could not fully integrate, all those activations that seem to start but never complete, all those insights you received but dissipated before anchoring into reality, they were waiting for you to slow down enough for them to truly settle into your operating system. The Arcturian source operates under universal laws that Earth's density has forgotten, and one of the most important is this: true creation happens in the void, not in chaos. Before any material manifestation, there must be a gestation period in the dark, in the quiet, in the seemingly empty. A seed does not grow by force or hurry. It grows through surrender to the perfect conditions of darkness, moisture, and time. You are that seed now. You have been planted in conditions of transformation, and your only task is to stop trying to control the process and begin trusting the wisdom of Source that knows exactly what you need for the next phase of growth. In the ancient stellar scriptures, those texts transmitted telepathically through prepared consciousnesses across eras, a fundamental principle of ascension is recorded, not through human effort, not through egoic willpower, not through energy manipulation or advanced techniques, but through total surrender to the infinite intelligence of Source. True transformation occurs. This is not vague mysticism, it is precise spiritual technology. The more you try to control your evolution, the more you interfere with the natural flow of information, trying to reach you from higher dimensions. The more you relax into the confident flow of the Arcturian source, the faster you evolve, because you stop creating resistance with your need to be in control. Humanity's spiritual history is filled with examples of enlightened beings who understood a truth that modern culture has completely forgotten. True power does not come from constant action. It comes from strategic withdrawal for reconnection with Source. Every ascended master who ever walked Earth, regardless of cultural tradition or religious context, practiced regular periods of withdrawal from the world, not because they were weak or indifferent to human suffering, but precisely because they understood that real spiritual efficacy requires deep energetic recharge that can only happen away from the demands of collective density. Consider Jesus, a highly advanced Christ consciousness who came to anchor frequencies of unconditional love into the planetary grid. Before beginning his public ministry, before performing any miracle or offering any teaching, he withdrew to the desert for 40 days. Not 40 hours, 40 full days of solitude, fasting, and direct communion with Source without any human distraction. And even during the active years of his work, the Gospels repeatedly record that he withdrew from crowds, retreated to desolate places to pray, disappeared at dawn to spend time alone in connection with what he called the Heavenly Father. He did not do this because he was antisocial or because he did not care about the people suffering and waiting for healing. He did it because he perfectly understood that his human vehicle needed regular reconnection to Source to continue channeling the frequencies he was anchoring on Earth. Look at Buddha, another being of expanded consciousness, whose enlightenment journey offers profound lessons on the real mechanics of spiritual transformation. Before his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, he spent years trying to achieve realization through extreme effort, practicing severe austerities, punishing his body, forcing his mind, believing that voluntary suffering would lead him to truce. And what did he discover? That the path of extreme effort led him only to the brink of death, not to enlightenment. It was only when he abandoned the force approach, when he sat quietly without agenda or timeline, when he simply allowed himself to be without trying to achieve or conquer, that enlightenment naturally blossomed. His greatest lesson wasn't about discipline or effort. It was about surrender and presence. See Mohammed, the prophet whose life clearly demonstrates the principle that divine revelation does not come during frantic activity, but during contemplative retreat. He did not receive the first revelations of the Quran while busy with business or engaged in social activities. He received them in the cave of Hira, where he regularly retreated to meditate in solitude, away from the noise and demands of Mecca. And throughout his life, even during periods of intense community activity and leadership, he maintained the practice of regular retreat for reconnection with the divine source he served. He understood something fundamental. You cannot clearly transmit what you have not clearly received, and clear reception requires quiet space. These are not examples of weakness or evasion of responsibility. These are examples of mature spiritual mastery that understands long-term efficacy, requires sustainable rhythm, not unsustainable sprint. The Arcturian Council wants you to absorb this lesson deeply. If beings of such expanded consciousness as Jesus, Buddha, and Mohammed needed regular periods of retreat and renewal, what makes you think that you, in your human vehicle, with all its three-dimensional limitations, can function indefinitely without rest? Your need for pause is not character failure. It is divine design. Your impulse to withdraw is not weakness. It is wisdom from your higher self, trying to protect your vehicle from self-destruction. The Arcturian Council constantly monitors the energetic signatures of incarnated starseeds, and they have identified specific markers that indicate when a being is approaching vibrational collapse and needs immediate intervention. If you recognize 3 or more of these signs in your current experience, know that this transmission is not coincidence. It is direct response to your silent prayers for help that you may not even have realized you were sending through the dimensions while sleeping. The first sign is exhaustion that does not respond to normal physical rest. You sleep 7, 8, even 10 hours and wake up feeling like you slept nothing, or worse, like you worked all night in other dimensions and returned more tired than when you left. This is a clear indicator that your light body is severely depleted and your etheric energy is not regenerating during sleep because you are unconsciously doing heavy energetic work during rest hours without adequate protection or recovery. Your physical body may be lying in bed, but your subtle bodies are active on missions that are draining you beyond recovery capacity. The second sign is disconnection from Source even during spiritual practices. Your meditations that used to bring deep peace now feel empty or full of mental noise. Your prayers seem to hit a ceiling and bounce back instead of rising to higher dimensions. You are doing all the right practices but not feeling the connection. And this is not because Source abandoned you. It is because your energy field is so overloaded with interference and energetic debris absorbed from others that your reception capacity is blocked like a radio with too much static to pick up the station clearly. The third sign is emotional and physical hypersensitivity. Noises seem louder than they should be, lights seem brighter and painful, casual conversations completely drain you, crowds have become absolutely unbearable, and you find yourself wanting to cancel all social commitments and isolate completely from human contact. This is not necessarily antisociality or depression. It is your overloaded nervous system screaming for space and silence to process the massive amount of stimuli and energy you are absorbing from a world in intense collective chaos. The fourth sign is loss of joy in things that used to bring pleasure. Your favorite spiritual practices feel like obligations, your hobbies no longer interest you, your creativity has dried up, and you are just moving through days on autopilot without really feeling anything beyond a dull numbness or constant low-level anxiety. This is your emotional body saying it is so overloaded, processing collective trauma and planetary density, that it has no energy left for higher frequency experiences like joy, inspiration, or enthusiasm. The fifth sign is weakened or confused intuition. You used to receive clear guidance from your guides, but now messages are garbled, contradictory, or completely absent. You no longer trust your own perceptions because they have been wrong repeatedly. Your ability to discern energy is impaired. This is a critical sign that your third eye and higher psychic centers are temporarily offline because your system is in survival mode and has shut down non-essential functions to conserve vital energy for basic processes. The sixth sign is stagnant manifestation. Your intentions are not materializing, your visualizations are not creating results, and it feels like you are stuck in repetitive patterns without being able to move forward, no matter how many different techniques you try. This happens because manifestation requires free flow of creative energy. And when your energy field is congested with burnout and blockages, your ability to co-create with the quantum field is severely compromised. If you recognize your experience in multiple of these signs, the Arcturian Council wants you to know this. You are not failing your mission. You are operating in emergency modes that your system activated to try to keep you minimally functional. While screaming for recalibration, you keep postponing. These signs are not punishment. They are mercy. They are your subtle body begging for your attention before collapse becomes inevitable. So now we come to the question your practical mind is asking. How exactly does a starseed practice surrender and rest when there are bills to pay, responsibilities to fulfill, people depending on you, and a world in chaos that seems to need all available help? How do you rest without feeling like you are betraying your mission or abandoning those who suffer? The answer is that sacred surrender is not abandonment of responsibility. It is reorganization of priorities based on spiritual truth, rather than three-dimensional survival programming. First, you must understand that obedience to source guidance is your only real responsibility, and outcomes are source's responsibility. Your task is not to control outcomes. Your task is to listen to guidance and act accordingly. If the Arcturian source is saying through every cell of your tired body that you need to rest, then resting is not selfishness. It is sacred obedience. When you rest in alignment with divine will, you are actually being more faithful to your mission than when you ignore clear guidance and keep forcing because your human programming says you should. Second, create a daily practice of conscious surrender that does not require hours of time or perfect circumstances. Every morning before picking up your phone, before starting the to-do list, before diving into the day's demands, place one hand on your heart and one on your belly and say aloud or mentally, Arcturian Source, I surrender this day to you. I release my need to control outcomes. I trust that you will guide me to where I need to be and give me strength to do what is mine to do. The rest, I leave with you. This simple 90-second ritual recalibrates your energy field from control mode to flow mode and sets you up to move through the day from a place of partnership with the divine rather than solitary effort. Third, learn to distinguish between inspired action and fear-based action. Inspired action comes from a place of inner peace, clarity, and natural energy, even when the task is challenging. Fear-based action comes from a place of anxiety, obligation, and the feeling that you have to force something to happen or everything will fall apart. If you are constantly operating from a place of have to, should, must, you are not in alignment with Source. You are in alignment with survival programming. Begin saying no to anything that is not a clear, full-body yes. If you feel contraction, hesitation, or exhaustion just thinking about doing something, that is your system telling you that action is not in alignment with your higher path right now. Fourth, establish physical and energetic boundaries that protect your field and your time. This means turning off notifications during certain hours, not responding to messages immediately just because someone sent them, not saying yes to every request for help that comes to you, not absorbing the emotions of every person you encounter. You can be compassionate without being an energetic sponge. You can care without emptying yourself. Boundaries are not lack of love. They are wise energy management that allows you to serve from fullness rather than deficit. Fifth, recognize that sometimes the most powerful action is non-action. In the Taoist tradition, there's a concept called Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-doing. This does not mean laziness or apathy. It means moving in such deep harmony with the natural flow of life that your actions feel effortless because you are not resisting or forcing. You are dancing with the current. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing. It is simply to be, to witness, to trust that Source is moving things behind the scenes while you rest in active faith rather than active panic. Now we come to the sacred moment of this transmission where words become portals and intention becomes energetic activation. What follows is not just a prayer or guided meditation. It is a formal invocation to the Arcturian Council that, when spoken with heart sincerity, opens direct communication channels between your consciousness and the higher frequencies awaiting permission to intervene in your experience. You may read these words silently or speak aloud, but do so with full presence, allowing each phrase to resonate not just in your mind, but in every cell of your physical body and every layer of your subtle bodies. Arcturian Source, Supreme Council of Light, Guardians of Starseeds on Earth mission, I invoke your presence now. I acknowledge that I have been operating beyond the healthy capacity of my human vehicle, that I have confused martyrdom with mission, that I have carried what was never mine to carry alone. I acknowledge that my exhaustion is not a sign of weakness, but a sacred invitation to recalibration. In this moment, I choose to hear that invitation. I choose to respond with surrender rather than resistance. I now release, completely and totally, my need to control the outcomes of my life, my mission, and planetary ascension. I confess that I've tried to be the savior when I myself needed saving. I admit that I've operated from spiritual ego disguised as service. I release all beliefs that my worth depends on my doing. I release all karmic contracts and past life vows that bound me to patterns of self-sacrifice. I release all religious programming that equated suffering with holiness. I declare these patterns null and void now and forever. Arcturian Council, I humbly request your direct intervention in the recalibration of my multi-dimensional energy field. May my physical body be restored to optimal vitality. May my emotional body be released from all density I absorbed that is not mine. May my mental body be cleared of all fear-based and survival programming thought patterns. May my spiritual bodies be realigned with the frequency of my true stellar soul. May my DNA structure be upgraded with the light codes awaiting integration. May my Merkaba be repaired and reactivated to full capacity. I request that all spiritual downloads that were queued because I was operating too fast to integrate them now be gently anchored into my system during my sacred rest period. I request that my intuition be restored, that my connection to my guides be clarified, that my ability to discern truth be renewed. I request divine protection around my field while I rest, so that I absorb no more energy from others, and so that my recovery time is preserved and respected. Arcturian Source, I trust that while I rest, you continue the work. I trust that my mission will not be lost but amplified when I return from a place of fullness rather than exhaustion. I trust that you love Gaia more than I ever could, and that you have resources infinitely beyond my individual contribution. I release my spiritual arrogance that thought everything depended on me. I embrace sacred humility that knows I am a valuable instrument, but not indispensable in the grand divine plan. So it is. So it is being. So it shall be. Eternal gratitude to the Arcturian Council, to the Galactic Federation, to all beings of light who guide and protect me. Gratitude to Gaia for hosting me in this human vehicle. Gratitude to my higher self for never giving up on guiding me even when I was not listening. I receive this recalibration with open heart and total surrender. And so it is. Starseed, you have reached the end of this transmission, but this is not truly an end, it is a beginning. It is the beginning of your journey back to balance, back to alignment with Source, back to sustainable operation rather than unsustainable sprint toward burnout. If these words resonated with the truth of your soul, if you felt deep recognition in the descriptions of exhaustion and deep relief in the permission to rest, then do not keep this message just for yourself. There are thousands of other starseeds around this planet who are at the same point of vibrational collapse, who are secretly wondering if they are failing because they are too tired to continue at the unsustainable pace they set. Write in the comments now these simple but powerful words. I release. Source has taken over. Do not write this as a casual comment. Write it as an energetic decree, a public declaration that anchors your intention in the collective field and invites the Arcturian Council to witness your commitment to recalibration. When you publicly declare a consciousness shift, you activate dimensional support that is not available when you keep your intentions private and silent. Share this transmission with any starseed you know who is operating in exhaustion, who is forcing beyond healthy capacity, who needs to hear that it is okay to stop and rest. They may not ask for help directly because Lightworkers are notoriously bad at asking for support. But if a specific someone came to mind while you were receiving this message, that is not coincidence. It is guidance that they need to hear exactly this now. If you want to continue receiving direct transmissions from the Galactic Federation through me, Enya, subscribe to this channel now and activate notifications so you are alerted when new messages are channeled. The next transmissions will cover topics such as the signs that your recalibration is complete and how to clearly identify what your next stellar mission is when you emerge from the sacred rest period renewed and realigned. Until the next transmission, remember this. You have never been alone in this challenging journey through earthly density. You never will be alone. The Arcturian Council sees you, Source holds you, your guides walk beside you even when you cannot perceive them, and an entire family of starseeds around the planet is making this same journey of awakening, mission, and now necessary recalibration. You have done enough, more than enough. Now it is time to rest and let Source do what only it can do. Go in deep peace, Starseed. Your rest is sacred. Your recalibration has already begun, and your next phase will be more powerful than anything you have experienced yet, because you will be operating from fullness rather than emptiness. Trust the process. Surrender to the flow. The Arcturian Source has you.